What's up, y'all? It's Mans Versus again. I know it's been a while since I've, come on with the podcast with some interesting topics. But as you know, the election was coming up and I wanted everything to chill out a little bit before I actually did another podcast. But welcome back. And I have two special guests. One is my very, very close friend who I love so much, Dasia Jones.
Hey, I am back, round two. If you have been following me on social media, you know that I have been talking about this upcoming runoff election pretty much every single day. So I'm excited to be here to continue having some conversation about it.
Love it. And then we do have a very special guest that she knows personally. His name is Daniel. How you doing, man?
Hey, y'all. It's Daniel Coley, or as Dave calls her, political friend. She came to me. She said, "Hey, there's a podcast going on. And they want you to talk about politics." And I said, "Okay, awesome. Let's do it." If we get in the neighborhood, I'm like, "Actually, where are we? Whose podcast is this?" I just agreed to it.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Like, for real. I really did. And I like that you're, out of the normal community that I normally would pick from a podcast, which kind of shows that I'm growing a little bit. So it kind of makes me happy a little bit.
Yeah.
Reach a new audience. Thank you so much for coming on and taking time out your day. But can you go a little bit into what you do exactly? Because this podcast is going to be on the election, the win that you guys got, the Senate runoff that's going to happen in January, what we can do to, truly push the state blue. Because even though we won the presidential side, Georgia's still pretty Republican. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, talk about that and.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said before, my whole life has been politics, and I talk about it constantly. But there's so many important things for people to know, and I try to make politics fun for the people that I talk to. I try to make it a lot more simpler than the difficulty of like hearing other people talk about and all the words that they use. Because I think politics should be accessible to everyone, and I think policies are not normally tied to one party or another, because we see a lot of discrepancies when it comes to policy changes and everything like that. But kind of a little bit about myself. I actually work for a nonpartisan company. It's national. I'm not going to name drop because I'm going to be very partisan later on this podcast. But my whole job is to make sure that we're registering students on college campuses across the country. And I'm the Georgia director. So it's been, this has been a really long drive and long, hard work for me, kind of moving into, what can we do to mobilize voters here in Georgia and here in Atlanta and just across the state in these rural districts. And Georgia shocked the entire, everyone keeps saying Georgia shocked the country, but Georgia shocked the world.
Yeah.
We have all eyes on us right now. I know a lot of people, we're celebrating, we're happy, but we're not done. There's still so much for us to do with these two Senate seats. These quite literally will decide who controls the Senate. For people who don't know how important the Senate is, we have a new justice on the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett. That's the Senate. They decided to have a confirmation hearing 45 days before the election, and confirmed her 8 days before America got to decide who our next president was going to be. So it's more than just, kind of electing, John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock because we like them, because they talk cool. It's literally the question of life or death, because when we, of course we swear in President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris, we also want to be able to hand him a Senate that is going to be able to allow him to pass the legislation that he needs to help everyone. Because we have so many people, suffering right now, especially during this pandemic. People are losing their jobs. People are losing their homes. People are losing their health care. And we should never be in a place where we have to decide whether I'm going to pay for my prescription or my rent, or, I want to be able to take my kid to school, but I just lost my car because I couldn't make the payments, and I think, even when talking about, who we're going to be electing, and I'll go so far in saying, if we had two Republican candidates who wanted to, produce this, and who wanted to, have everyone have health care and really focus on education and all this other stuff, I mean, at this point, it's like, okay, cool. I want everyone who's in the Senate to be intentional, but we don't have that. What we have is David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Kelly Loeffler, not even being from Georgia, being the richest member of Congress, being married to the person who owns the New York Stock Exchange. Someone who has no business running in Georgia politics because she's not a Georgian. She doesn't have the Georgians' best interest at heart.
She's a political outsider.
A political outsider, and we're using quotation marks for those who can't see us. And I can't wait to see Reverend Warnock, debate her and just absolutely show us what a real senator can be. And we also have David Perdue, a quote unquote Trump fanatic, that is something he, uses as like, this is why you should vote for me. I vote for, Donald Trump 100% of the time. I don't know when that became, the level
standard.
of, the standard of what a good politician is.
He started doing that 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I follow politics I don't follow politics as hard in other states. I will admit I'm biased because, good old Georgia boy. Right. But he started doing that about 2 years ago when Trump won, and he realized he was riding the Trump train, kind of like our governor did now.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but Purdue was scratched off my list when I found out what he did profiting off of COVID a few months ago. And I was like, I'm not going to do it for you. So then, people don't believe me, but like, I'm actually not Republican. As we were discussing, like, I know it's hard to believe. But as we were discussing before the podcast, I'm pro-black. I'm pro-black everything. I'll vote for someone who's not black if they have a pro-black agenda.
Yeah.
That's what I'm personally about. And so I'm willing to see what Ossoff and Warnock can do for us in January, because people don't know it. Like you said earlier, Georgia literally decides who controls the Senate.
Yeah.
And so if we can get the Senate, we can probably get Biden to do, more things for us. Hopefully. Well, hopefully. I don't know what he'll do exactly, but hopefully we can get him to do more things for us, because that's all I'm for is, like I said earlier before the podcast, it's hard to clean up house for someone else's house when your own house is dirty.
Absolutely.
And this is not me being selfish towards any other minority or any other racial group or any other demographic. Like, I feel you, your pain is there and we want to help you, but if I'm not doing good, how can I help you do good?
Right.
You feel me? So I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen in January. Like, it's one of those, I rarely get excited about things, but this is one of those things like I'm really, really excited about, because like if Georgia really do becomes blue, like all the way, I don't mean just on the presidential level, but like all the way, I'll be shook.
This would be the first time we've ever, because even in the race itself, to have 2 Senate seats being open for an election that's just not how it happens. The Senate chooses members. A third of the Senate is chosen every 2 years because their terms are 6 years long. But for us to have 2 seats open right now, it paves the way for such change so quickly. Like you said, it's about voting in the people who are going to do the right things, and that just so happens, to be the Democrats in this situation. The Democrats aren't perfect by any means.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, there's widespread there is still widespread corruption with the leadership in the Democratic Party and everything like that.
I like you.
Yeah, I like you too. You were talking. I said, what, man, he onto something. But no, it's it's the truth, and a lot of times, people are it's Democrat or Republican, but it's like no, it's about these policies. It's about what is good for the country, because Democratic leadership, if they really, really cared about it, they could have, right? They could be sitting these, this legislation up through the Senate. Of course, we have to get rid of Mitch McConnell, who's standing in the way of any true.
I hate him so much.
Look.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to say what I want to say because we recorded.
Okay, well, let me say I dislike him a lot. I feel like hate is a very strong word, but I dislike him as a political leader.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, it's the idea that one person is standing in the way of true change. It's the idea that one person is ushering in so much hate and so much, I want to say disrespect, but it's not even, of course we have a lot of other things, like concrete things, but no, it's disrespectful to all those who paved the way for us to be able to even sit here and record this and put stuff out.
Facts.
And speak. People lost their lives for us to even have a voice. And to have a man stand in the way of people having health care or people having access to education, it's absurd. And I think that what we're seeing here in Georgia is a lot of young people, a lot of young black voters standing up and saying, I'm actually tired of this.
So speaking of young black voters, we had, she's smiling already, because she know I'm coming. I'm gonna skip her, but no, okay. But so young black voters who are pushing the Democratic candidate, which I'm for whatever you think is pro-black. I think Day herself is a very pro-black person, which I love. Huh? But yeah, I think Day is very much like that. But you went extra hard, even outside of the rallies and the protests, you went extra hard on pushing, your narrative and what you think is best for our people. And I just kind of want you to touch on that.
Really? You think I went extra hard?
Day, you probably tweeted more about stuff than I tweeted.
Okay, so look, the thing is, I tweeted a lot on election night specifically. Like the first night and watching, I think it was because of the fact that for me, and I was also, keep in mind, right next to Daniel, literally watching all of this stuff happen. And Georgia turning blue was not a surprise to me. For whatever reason, I have just felt that this entire year. Like I just knew.
I was shook.
I knew I could feel it. And then on election night, we were looking, we're watching CNN, you click on the counties in Georgia or whatever, and you're seeing blue counties, counties surrounding Atlanta, DeKalb, Clayton County, Fulton County, all of these, and they were like 2% reporting. And I'm like, okay, we're, 84% of the state of Georgia has already reported?
Yeah.
The blue counties are 2% in, and we haven't, outstanding votes are all absentee. We're like, this is blue.
There was a moment you looked at me and I just had a grin on my face and you said, "Man, I just saw you go to Twitter," and it was exciting.
I was like, let me tweet. I don't know. I just think I have been so exhausted, like politically exhausted. I feel like I used to love being tapped into politics. I love to watch the news. Like, I know that sounds really lame, but I will literally sit there and watch like C-SPAN. Like, I will watch the news. And I got so tired of turning on the news and seeing something about somebody being prosecuted. And I'd be like, I don't even know who this is anymore. Like, I don't know who we're talking about because there's too many scandals going on.
Yeah.
And it's draining. So I think like the little ounce of hope that I had for us to really finally get rid of this man in office, I just was excited. And I was like, let's make sure that we're doing all that we can do to like mobilize young people and Black voters specifically, because I didn't want, I don't know, for me, and I think that I approach it in a way that's different than, what I've seen on Twitter and the narratives that I see often. But for me, it meant so much more than just voting and Donald Trump not winning. Like, it was literally like, wow, I feel like I'm a part of history. Wow, I'm literally voting in this runoff in Georgia on January 5th. Even if John Ossoff and Reverend Warnock don't win, like, the fact that I was included in this historic event was like insane to me. So
yeah, like I do acknowledge that the very deep state Black people, like, Clayco, Fulton County, like, we really did come through like all the way.
Yeah.
Because had we not voted at the number of people that we voted with, Georgia wouldn't be blue. Like,
not at all.
Nowhere near. It would be impossible. If we had the same numbers of votes that we had for, not for Obama, but for Hillary Clinton, Georgia would still be the state that it would be in. And people don't realize that. Yeah. So there was some type of political shift. And it's probably mainly due to Trump, because I know, Cap, I kind of hated watching him on the news. Like, outside of his policies or whatever, like, I was like, dang, dude, like, shut up. And I'm saying that, you feel me?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this man just doesn't, like, how does he wakes up and tweets at 7:30, and I was like, good Lord, bro, like, what are you doing? And he don't stop tweeting until like 12 o'clock at night. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Yeah. And so there was a strong political shift, I think, personally. And you don't really see it like the signs, like how Trump supporters do, but you kind of saw it like on like you all chilling and you talking. He's like, man, I hate Trump. And almost every party I went to, or like every kickback, or like, every social gathering, like multiple schools around Georgia, because I'm a photographer, so I travel to multiple schools and, do some events for them. Like, no one liked him. And I was like, good Lord. I was kind of shocked a little bit, because I've been in Georgia my entire life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, Georgia's been red since before I was born.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any of us.
Yeah, before we even thought about, before they even knew what Georgia was.
When
she was, right. And, like, I just never, and my friends kept telling me, like, a lot of my Democrats was like Georgia turning blue, and I was like, bro, shut up, like get out of my face, it's not happening. I was like, bro, we've been red since before we were even thought of, and the fact that we're blue now is kind of historic moment. Shout out to the young black voters. Shout out to black women. Shout out to black men. You know, we did our thing.
I think that. Oh, I'm sorry. I think there were building blocks that set up for Georgia specifically to be like this. We were just talking about this in the car on the way here, but the Brian Kemp stealing the election from Stacey Abrams played a significant role in Georgia being blue.
Dope, by the way.
My queen.
More than dope.
I did not know. I didn't know what she did until a week after the election. I didn't know that she registered that many people to vote.
So I think that, okay, a lot of things, right? So I think that I'll work backwards. Starting with Stacey Abrams, a lot of people, are throwing this number of like 800,000 voters, in this. That's just the work that she did for this the election here. Stacey Abrams has been working since the day where she conceded to a race that she should have won to Brian Kemp. Has been putting in the work since that day in 2018. She has been working, instead of, saying, oh, I lost, or I'm mad about this, I'm just going to go and do anything selfishly. She started
quite
a
literally
nonprofit.
What the president is doing right now.
Absolutely, yeah. She started a nonprofit, a national nonprofit called Fair Fight, and Fair Fight has been putting in
her?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fair Fight is her. That is her.
Stop playing.
Absolutely.
Literally.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. She's not in this for the glory. She's not in this for she's in this because she does not want Georgians or anyone across this country to be disenfranchised. She wants to make sure that voter suppression has no place in 2020. She wants to make sure that every single voter gets their voice heard. And that is why, just to look at her and to be in the same field of work as her makes me so happy every day.
I'm so shook right now. I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
I did not know that was her.
No, you look like I just told you.
Holy, I don't really cuss on this podcast, but holy hell, I did not know that was her.
Yeah,
bro, they literally I was already registered to vote, and they sent me 3 things in the mail, probably a month before, and I was like, who are these people? But I was like, I'm right, and I thought I was going crazy. I had to check my status twice, and I was like, am I registered for real? And it was like, you're registered for vote, and I was like, bro, they went hard.
Yeah. It's about double checking because, in 2018, first of all, let's just take it back to 2018 when Brian Kemp was running for governor, right? It's not even that easy just to say that. Brian Kemp was the Secretary of State running the election where he was running for governor.
Yeah, that never sat well with me.
No, never. And they knows this is one of my favorite presidents, but Jimmy Carter actually came out and, and was like, this isn't right. You should step down. And everyone was calling for him to step down because you can't run an election where you're running the election. Could you imagine if Donald Trump was running the election?
Yeah, that didn't it never made sense to me how, when people told me, I was like, I was like, how you gonna run your own state and then run in your, I was like, that isn't, am I tripping right now?
Doesn't sit well. No.
Yeah, it never said well with me. Even outside of my political views, I was like, that's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's stupid, and it's blatant corruption that no one pays attention to, except for a lot of really really hard political people. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, are y'all serious? Or is nobody gonna say anything? But we talk about Georgia turning blue. And I keep saying everyone's super it shocked everyone, and I've been sitting here for months being like, hey, Georgia's turning blue, so let's go ahead and make sure we're doing the work that we need to do and everything like that. And it was just what told me that Georgia's turning blue was not only the presidency, up until that point in 2018 of just how the presidency of Donald Trump. And after he won in 2016, was sworn in 2017, the work and the things that he was saying, the things that he just didn't do, the things that he did do, I knew that the political landscape will never look the same. I said this next election is probably going to be one of the most pivotal because we're going to have a lot of people upset. And I based a lot of my, not only do I base a lot of my predictions off of just hard actual facts from the previous elections and the primaries and everything. I like to use my family too. My family, they're a family of people who are, they're engaged. They vote because they know that they have not always had the vote, but they haven't been, too knowledgeable what's going on. And, over the course of the past year, I've noticed my dad get so much more politically engaged, and it was really, really heartwarming because I said, we are now seeing a lot more mobilization, a lot more education,
That's
and
very
just
true.
passion. Yeah, it was good. And he called me. When we were doing early voting, and he was like, "Hey, I just wanted to call you and tell you I stood in line and voted." And I was just like, he thought to call me after he did it because of how much work I've been doing, and it was really good to see that our state did something. And I've been on a lot of donor calls. Like I said, I work for a national nonprofit, so we have to get money, and because we can't keep none of our money, so we have to get grants. And I was talking to a lot of donors, and they asked, said the polls were showing that Biden was going to win in a huge blowout and record numbers in these states, but they were a lot closer than we thought, except for Georgia. They said Georgia did exactly what it was supposed to do, and they were like, why did we see Georgia turn blue? Why were we so surprised? And I said, because you underestimated the black youth in our state. I said, I think that you will never do that again. Yeah. Because we have shown.
My man.
Right. No,
I'm gonna give you some dap.
It was so good to say that too, because it was a call with some older white people. They were older and they were just confused, and I was like, you won't ever underestimate the state again, because you have a lot of young people being able to come to each other on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram, and sharing very relevant information about these races.
Yeah. For me personally, what I kind of felt was going to be Donald Trump's downfall, in key states, was one, what he did to John McCain. Because John McCain, people don't realize it. I don't know but he was actually very liked by a lot of people on both aisles of the side, mainly because he was a prisoner of war, and people don't realize that. They was like, well, this guy could have ratted us out. He didn't do it. He's a good guy. He might be Republican, but we like him. Yeah. You feel me? Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that. So when he was bashing him before he died, I think that's what played a key role in Arizona flipping blue.
Oh yeah.
He's just overall a very courageous individual. Across the board, even in his political career, he was a courageous person. I literally was just watching videos of John McCain on YouTube the other day.
Tell me you watched my favorite video.
When he flipped.
When he voted for, oh man, see John McCain, look, a lot of my liberal friends are going to be cringing, or I don't care, but John McCain was a very, very good example of country before party. Yeah. He said, certain things should not happen because this is not what is in the best interest of our country. One of my favorite videos, I know Dave was just talking about it, one of my favorite videos of of watching C-SPAN or watching votes is when the Republicans were trying to get rid of Obamacare without an actual plan to replace it. They just wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't like that idea.
It's stupid. We'll get to that later. But John McCain walks in, and he's the last vote that they need for the Republicans to need. And you have Mitch McConnell standing there with his arms crossed, staring at him. And John McCain walks in, and everyone gets quiet, and he reaches out his hand and just does a quick thumbs down and walks out. And you hear the gasp, and you see Bernie Sanders sitting there, kind of nodding. And I said, "Man, this is nuts. This is the most. Man, you can have your sports, you can have your concert. This is what I like to see, because we saw a man who said, I have myself health issues. I have pre-existing conditions. I can't live in a world where my vote ends that protection for millions, and millions of people will suffer from this, and I won't do it. I don't care who my party is."
The thing that got me in John McCain was how his party wanted him to talk crap about Obama. Yeah. And then he was like, I don't know if you guys seen the interview, but he was like, wait, let's hold up a second. He's my, enemy and I'm running against him, but he's still a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great man.
He's got a family. He's still a pretty good guy. He's like, I can bash his policies, but I'm not gonna bash him as a person. He was like, I'm not gonna do that. And that's when I started liking John McCain. I was like, yo, that's dope. And Trump did the opposite and talked crap about him. And when John McCain died, I knew John McCain was gonna flip Arizona. Yeah. Even because people don't realize the Senate in Arizona is still Republican, but they just didn't like Trump. They was like, you're not going to talk crap about the guy that helped us. Yeah, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, Arizona's only flipped blue 2 times in the past few decades. Yeah, right. Arizona, I don't know why a lot of people just kind of assumed Arizona's going to turn blue, but that to me is surprising, right? Because that's something that hasn't happened in a few decades, and the work that John McCain did when he was in Congress, of course there are policies that I don't agree with, but it's the fact that he was able to put his country before his party, and he was kind of the reason why, I still have to this day, I'm like, there are still some good Republicans. I worked with a lot of them when I worked at the Capitol, or state Capitol. And a lot of them, I can't say nothing but the U.S. Capitol, but no, a lot of the Republicans in the state Capitol, as well as the Democrats, deep down, both parties and both sides in the Capitol and both sides everywhere just want what's best for their families. They want what's best, for them and their futures. And I think at the end of the day, when you sit down and you kind of look at it and you're like, these policies that people, keep screaming are socialist policies or progressive policies or bad for everyone, they poll very well.
Well, they're not actually that socialist. Like,
no, not at all.
So people don't realize like Obamacare is not socialist because it's just a government option. Socialists would be getting rid of everything and be like, this is the healthcare. Yeah. That's not what, and don't get me wrong, there's faults with Obamacare, which, is neither here nor there, but that's not what it is. Like, it's an option.
Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between an option and then like, like a forced tax. Like, that's not what, and I try to tell my Republican friends, I'm like, I know you're dumb. Like, no, simply, that's not what that is. Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, like I'm, critical of both sides, but if you're gonna be critical, at least tell the truth about what's going on.
A strategy I use for my poor Republican friends, is I like to bring in like examples of the exact same thing that they are okay with, but they don't know what they're okay with because they don't like Obamacare, right?
Yeah. They named it Obamacare to make people not like it.
Yeah,
it's not even called Obamacare.
I love the interviews when they're like, well, how do you feel about Obamacare? And they're like, I hate it. And you're like, okay, well, would you like an option where you could have health insurance if you need it, but you can stay with your own like people if you don't, and then it'll be called the Affordable Care Act, and you're like, yeah, I love that idea. Why don't we do this?
That's Obamacare.
That's Obamacare. And it's like people get so upset because they start to scream and they start to kick and just kind of just be upset before they actually know what's going on. We have public school. We have free like public school education. Not free, we all pay for it, but it's a place where you can send your children and they can get an education, or you can choose to do your own like private education or homeschooling.
That's what my family did.
Yeah, I mean, people have the option of what they want to do with their children when they are educating them, and I don't understand why healthcare is any different. And I mean, like I said earlier, I'm going to be really partisan. I'm going to let y'all know my opinions. I think that every single American should have access to healthcare.
Yeah. That's fair. Like, so specifically speaking towards healthcare, I want to ask Day this because she's a woman. See, my biggest thing for not wanting socialized healthcare, well, there's two reasons. One, I don't think no one's entitled to anyone's time and labor. But also, if we get socialized healthcare, my thing is like, do you think it will fix the racism in healthcare? Because
no,
like my biggest issue is I want to have kids one day. Me and my girlfriend, we've agreed to have kids. Like, we want 3, we're gonna adopt one. Because like that's just what we want to do. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And so I think that is it gonna benefit her? Like, and if it will, I'll put my own biases aside as being, a capitalist and be like, hey, if this is going to help my wife and my kids live, and if I have 3 daughters, like, I'm for that. Like, I don't care, me personally, like, I don't care, like, I suck it up. I'm a grown man. But if this policy will help that, then I'm for it.
So let me correct my response. Are you saying, like, how we talk about Black women and their rates of, like, maternal death?
I'm for, like, I believe if first off, I believe if women have kids, period, they should be allowed certain tax breaks and certain PTO. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm very for that because you have to raise a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, someone has to do it. Like, and maybe, she doesn't want to do it and the husband does it. Like, I don't really care who does it.
I think paternity leave.
I think some paternity leave of some type for either parent or both parents or whatever they decide is needed for at least 6 months. Because those are the most important months of the child's life. Mm-hmm. Like, I personally, scientists may disagree with me. I don't know. But I personally think that. And then also I think you need tax breaks from that because raising a kid is not cheap. Mm-hmm. And I know it's, Republicans be like, it's your personal responsibility. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, though, we need humans to live in order to continue the human race.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, it's your personal. Okay, that's true. But if no one has kids ever again, never, what are you going to do?
Right.
Dummy. Like,
No, right.
like, so I'm very for that. But I just want to get your take as a black woman. Like, do you think socialized healthcare will help races? Like, I don't know. Like, I literally have no idea.
I don't think it's really a yes or a no question, because I think that I don't think socialized healthcare will change the fact that like medical racism is systemic. So those aspects of it will still exist. Do I think that, obviously it will help the black community and underrepresented communities in ways that, not having access to affordable healthcare at all will, yes. I don't know if I'm really like coming with a juicy like take on this. I just feel like it's too cloudy for me to have a yes or a no, because I don't really believe that one decision like that would just take away all aspects of how race would affect it in any,
So then I think that goes into a deeper question. So healthcare is affected by the people that's in it. The people that's in it is affected by education. So what do you think is the solution, or what do you think, you as a Democrat, you both are Democrats, obviously. I'm an independent. Like, people don't believe me. Bro, people don't believe me, bro. I promise you, I'm not Republican. I didn't vote for Trump. I don't
think you're Republican.
I've literally told people I don't lie. Okay.
I think people joke about it.
There's smaller things that like I don't lie. Like,
I don't know.
Lying
now
is
I need to see your ballot, because now I feel like you lied. I wasn't questioning to you.
I promise you, I'm very open about what I do politically. Now, I won't keep reiterating myself. Now I just be like, bruh, like, go to my Twitter, like, ask my friends, like, like me lying to my grandma, to my mom, to my dad, to my brother, to you, to like my girl, like, it would be very far-fetched for me to lie to the people closest to me, just so people won't be mad at me. Come on, man.
Right,
like,
right.
You've seen me tweet before.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna lie about this one thing, this one time.
This one time, right.
So people, come on now.
Right.
Like, but going back to what I was saying earlier, education. What is
so vital.
What is the Democratic plan for education? Because like Daniel was saying earlier, your schools are funded by your property taxes in your county. And then, if you have bad counties, you have bad schools, because lower taxes, less funding, so far, so forth. So what is the Democratic solution for that? Because if you guys have a good solution, I'll promote the hell out of y'all.
This sounds like a Daniel type of question.
Yeah, I was
you
just
better come
saying.
with statistics.
So education has always been, before I dive into that too, I also just want to kind of touch about, just like kind of healthcare, because you're right. Everything is definitely tied to education. I think, at the end of the day, every problem that we have, every single situation across the country is all tied to education. The reasons why, healthcare, can be so expensive, and a lot of people, pay for, prescriptions, they have high cholesterol, and they have like these surgeries that are so detrimental to their finances because it puts them in so much debt, and it's crippling. A lot of these schools don't teach, what it means to have healthy habits. A lot of these schools don't, teach, how to have safe sex. They don't teach them how to, protect themselves in certain situations, and it's all because of the funding. Yeah, you have these teachers who have classes of 30 plus students in these areas, and these teachers are raising these kids because their parents are working 2 to 3 jobs, and it's an endless loop of kids are going to school, they're not learning, they're not able to be engaged because their teachers are having to teach 30 different kids who are learning at 30 different rates, being able to learn in 30 different ways, and these teachers are trying to teach them these things that they need to grow up. And these students aren't getting it because they're not getting the individual connection that they need, and they're going home and their parents aren't there to help them in their homework. And that, to me, is the reason why we have these counties where the students leave school and they didn't learn anything. They were passed through because they had no kid left behind. Thank you, President Bush, for that. with no kid left behind, and we have these kids.
I love when people sneak this. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things to. I love when people. I just be like, ooh, no, he did. Oh,
right. I love this. I love the good sneak this, but. And you have these kids, and they go in these communities, and they don't know, none the wiser. They don't know how to have safe sex. They don't know, how to start businesses, and so they're working these other jobs, making the people in charge of these other larger corporations richer because they can't do anything else. And when it comes to healthcare, it's as easy as saying, have a health class that teaches people how to, eat adequately. And I don't mean a health class where it's like half the semester you're in gym and the other half you're in health and it's easy and you're just studying flashcards because the health teacher is also the gym coach. I mean, have dedicated health, like people who went to school, like nutritionists, go to these schools and be able to teach these students, because this will stop them from having cardiac arrest when they're 40. This will stop them from having these unhealthy, habits that make them end up in hospitals. And I think everything kind of is connected. And I know you asked Day earlier about, just kind of like when it comes, and I'm sorry I'm jumping around, but I'm kind of coming back to healthcare now. You asked her about, like as a woman, as a Black woman in healthcare, because there is a lot of discrimination, right? Like,
bruh, it's crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of people no one even thinks about it.
I didn't even know about it until 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know that I was a victim of it until my mom told me. So you don't know. So I had 4 heart surgeries growing up, like open heart surgery, like, as a baby and as a teenager. So I remember the one as a teenager because I was in high school. Yeah. It's my freshman year in high school. But when I was younger, my parent, like I would have blue spells. Blue spells is like where your lungs and heart stop working and you literally turn blue. Like it's like it's an actual thing. And so I would have blue spells like all the time, like once a day, twice a day, like, it's crazy. And my mom took me to like 10 doctors and they was like, there's nothing wrong with your son. And luckily I have my dad. That's my dad. Shout out to that's my main man. That's my dog right there. That's,
the man was breaking down,
what I'm saying? Right. And my dad was like, no, my mom said at one time, we were at the hospital. My dad was like, I'm not leaving this hospital until y'all fix my son. Yep. He's like, my dad, he, what I'm saying? You feel me? So he's not going nowhere. Right. And finally, the heart surgeon actually fixed me, like discovered that I had tetralogy of flow. And the crazy part is like, had my dad not been who my dad was, I probably wouldn't be here for this podcast. So I am super huge on racism in healthcare, which is why like I don't know what the solution is. Yeah. And which is why I'll bring it up today, because I know that even though outside of my very rare, like I know heart problems are very rare, like to be born with it. Cool. But pregnancy is not.
No.
Half of America gets pregnant, technically, by percentage, because most of them have kids. So like that is a really big thing that I constantly think about in healthcare is like pregnant women. Like they're the Black women are the like most likely to die. Yeah. How are we the most likely? Like I'm at a loss for words.
Child mortality rates are incredibly a lot higher in the Black community with Black women and their pregnancies. Georgia actually has, I don't know if you guys know this, you probably don't, because a lot of people don't, because not a lot of people talk about it, but the child mortality rate here in Georgia, I believe, at the time of early this year when the state legislature was talking about it, it's the highest in the country, and we have no idea. They have no idea why, and it's a lot of like. There's not, first of all, having a child at the hospital. I know none of us has had a child at the hospital, of course, but it costs thousands.
King Don over there laughing. But.
Right. It really does. I mean, it costs, literally child. It costs thousands to have a child, and it leaves a lot of families to not want to accept other things, and they want to get out of the hospital as fast as possible. Right, because they can't afford to be there any longer than they need to be. Because a lot of people are going to a lot of these people are going to these hospitals and they're having children and they're trying to leave because they don't have health insurance or.
Well, that's very good point to the question that was raised. See, this is why. That's why I bring Daniel with me when I do stuff like that.
Yeah, man, I like this guy. He's smart.
That was a very intellectual point to make. I didn't want to cut you off, but I think another thing is like I had a Black women's health class. You would think I would have taken from that class enough to really bring some substance, but like there is no Black women's health textbook. Like we don't study these things. We don't really dedicate, like there aren't people that are, I'm not gonna say there aren't people, because hopefully I'm praying that there are Black women out here that are dedicating their career and their research and their studies to this, but what are we basing it off of? Because what we're basing it off of is the experiences of Black women that are dying, that are losing their children, but we're not doing any research, we're not studying anything to progress from that.
Well, I will say this. I personally know a bunch of Black women at Kennesaw specifically who do nursing. Like, I know at least 5. And I just actually had a photo shoot today and shot a nursing. She's going to graduate from Mercer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I kind of have hope for the future.
Definitely.
Like, probably for, like, my kids, maybe. But I know, and of course, obviously, there's no, like, solution today or right now for the fix. But, you know, I think 30 years into the future, like, what are we going to be? Yeah. And that's what I think about, because, like, you know, I want to have kids in, like, hopefully the next 10 years.
I will say as well, you know, when we talk about the Affordable Care Act, it wasn't just about making sure that everyone had access. It was about protecting those who had pre-existing conditions, but also about those vulnerable groups. Mm-hmm. And it was to remedy a lot of the protections that we had for people to be able to go to these hospitals and not fear of being discriminated against and not getting adequate health care. Yeah. And, you know, I'm going to shout out my friend Emma right now. You know, she's in nursing school. She's about to finish. She actually just got a great job. And she is a newly found, a voter that's actually, like, you know, getting engaged. And the thing that really kind of sparked it for her, not only me, but it was because Donald Trump is attacking protections against being able to discriminate against people in hospitals, right? Against people like who don't share your religious, like, you know, viewpoints or anything like that, different groups. And it really didn't sit well for her because, you know, she, at the very core of what she does is to take care of people, and she wants to go in this field because she wants to help people get better. And it didn't sit well with her that we didn't have these protections to say that you cannot refuse, you know, like, care to someone because of their color of their skin or their sexuality, which obviously, you know, it's 2020. We should have these protections, especially when something so serious as such as healthcare is in concern. But we don't have those protections. We're still fighting for the basic ones, right? And it's, at the end of the day, it's Obamacare and Affordable Care Act is still being attacked right now, even though Donald Trump has already taken away the mandate. A really big part of about Affordable Care Act was the mandate to actually pay into it.
Yeah, the individual mandate.
Yeah, the individual mandate. Sorry, I could not remember the first.
No, I saw you think about it. I was like, he's gonna get it. Right. And then you said the third time, I was like, okay, he's not gonna get it. I was like, let me help him out.
Thanks for the assist. But yeah, the individual mandate was a huge thing that a lot of Republicans and Democrats had an issue with because it was forcing people to pay for this health care that they didn't want. It was forcing the American people to do something else. But Donald Trump, using the powers of the presidency, had an executive order that got rid of it. And it held up. And so after that was done, it was like, okay, why are you still fighting? And he's seriously fighting to get it completely taken away because they say they will go on TV and they'll say we're trying to protect people with pre-existing conditions, but they are not at all.
Yeah.
They're not trying to protect those people because there's so many protections that allow people to go and get health care, you know, the same way as anyone else, but they're still constantly attacking it.
Yeah, that's also another reason why I didn't want to vote for Republicans, because, like, I don't like liars, as you guys can tell. I don't like liars. So when they were lying about saying that Obamacare is socialist, I was like, again, stop. Like, you having an option just makes it a government option. Like, it doesn't make it socialism. Like, and I heard that Ossoff likes Obamacare.
Yeah, so it's right now, a lot of Democrats, when they're running, especially, you know, the Southern Democrats,
good old country boys.
The Southern Democrats.
Good old country boys.
Right, I consider myself a Southern Democrat, but no, a lot of them, I gotta go get me some cowboy boots. I think that's gonna look so good in some campaigns. I think that's gonna look good in some campaign videos. But a lot of them want to expand the Affordable Care Act because, you know, it did its job in providing millions of people with health insurance.
I did like that.
Yeah, and I think everyone, you know, they're like, oh, it has issues. And, like, of course it does. Every single piece of legislation, every policy that we have has issues. but it's all about what did it accomplish, and it did give millions of people healthcare, and they want to extend on it because there are still Democrats in the party who are not subscribed to the socialist agenda. I'm using quotation marks. Sorry,
Hillary Clinton.
Right. Like and a lot of people are they're like, oh well, Joe Biden's the left, and it's funny because I'm like, if Joe Biden's the left,
literally,
people don't realize he's kind of centrist.
He's incredibly centrist.
Like it's kind of crazy. I'm like, you can't put Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders in the same.
No.
Yeah,
No, not at all.
They might both be blue, but they're not in the same league at all.
It's been talked that he's considering Bernie Sanders for his Secretary of Labor.
Yeah.
Which is
Labor
interesting.
Secretary. Yeah, I've seen.
Or did I say that?
No. You're right. You're right.
But
yeah, they rumors about the Labor Secretary and being housing urban development.
Come on, Hood.
Just right, HUD Secretary. Mostly because his policies. Bernie. First of all, let me just put it out there. Bernie's right. I just want to say it. Bernie is right. It's all about the way that you frame things, though, because Americans don't want you to come at them with these complex ideas and strategies and policies. They want to know how much money you want from me and who's getting affected by this. Because, a lot of Bernie's policies, the Republicans will get up and they'll just start spinning stuff that isn't true.
Yeah.
And they'll say, this is going to cost us trillions. And it's like, yeah, we're going to have to pay for it, but everyone's going to have health insurance. So instead of someone, this is what I always use with healthcare. It's my simplified version of why it's important for everyone to have access to it. You have someone who doesn't have health insurance and they're going their entire life and they're fine. They have a family, they're making money. It's really, really great until they turn 45 and they have a heart attack. Because they have never been to the doctor. They haven't been to the doctor since they were a child. And they have to go and they have surgery. And it's fine because their family, they have money. But they get a medical bill for $200,000 or $300,000 because, of course, you understand how expensive it is. And their family, for the rest of their lives, are crippled in debt and try to pay that back.
Yeah.
Or everyone can have access to a doctor. That person can go to the doctor in their 20s. And the doctor says, hey, your cholesterol levels are a little high. Cut back on some fried foods and maybe eat some more vegetables. You don't even have to cut it out completely. Just eat a little bit better. And a
little bit less, a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit more, a little bit less. No big deal. That doctor visit maybe costs $80. But $80 compared to $300,000 down the line of that person paying for it. And a lot of things that people don't understand is when people go to the doctor, they're not going to get refused. They're going to get the service. And someone's going to have to pay for that medical visit. And it's going to be the American people later down the line. Yeah. So why not allow everyone to have access? Because it's going to be cheaper in the long run. And that's a lot of things that, Bernie was trying to say is that having access to this healthcare will save us.
I get it.
Yeah.
I was following. I was looking a little dumb, but I kind of understood. Okay. Cause you're saying pay now, save later.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a very and people don't admit it, but that's pretty capitalist. That's a pretty.
I'm glad you said that because I was just about to say, I used to consider myself, fiscally conservative.
Oh man, I'm a capitalist.
No. See, that's the thing, right? Capitalism.
Jay just looked at me.
Everyone's like, I hate capitalism, but I'm like, wait a minute. See, capitalism itself is it's a good idea. Until you get greedy people who want to take advantage of everyone else.
And I try to tell my friends
that. Right. I look at things and I'm like, okay, it's not inherently bad. It's just people are taking advantage of other people. But the thing is, if you make it accessible for everyone in this country to be able to go to a doctor, you're going to have millions of people who have never been to the doctor before going to the doctor. You're going to need new doctors. You're going to need more facilities. That means more jobs because people got to build these facilities. These healthcare, these
healthier people.
Yeah, healthier people are now working. Yeah.
Even outside of that, you'll need nutritionists. Yeah, you'll need fitness people. You probably need more gyms. You'll need rehabilitation.
Yeah. You need custodial staff. You'll need administrators. You'll need, people building the light bulbs. You'll need more ambulances. You will have to have so much more infrastructure, and that will create so many jobs. And people are going to be healthier and happier because they're not having to take care of their kids because my kid has, my kid broke their arm, but I can take him to the doctor and not worry about it. They're going to give him a cast. He's going to go back to school. There's so many things that we can fix by just investing in it, and it makes more money.
I ain't gonna cap. You might have been the first Democrat. Hold up. You might have been the first Democrat to actually make me want socialized healthcare.
Man. I'm not gonna get man.
Because no one, because like usually Democrats feed me the same bullcrap talking points. Yeah. Well, everyone needs healthcare, right? But they've given me no reason as to why. They're saying, well, you just need it. I'm like, that doesn't make me want to. But when you put it like that and make, because you know, I'm a very numbers person. Don't get me wrong. I have sympathy and I feel bad for people because you know my bill for when I was a teenager, I was 14 when I had my last surgery. My bill was like almost $1 million. Because it was open heart surgery, had to get a new valve, like all the medicine, all the drugs, all the therapy behind it. Like I went to therapy for like 2 months.
And you needed it, or the other option was death?
Yeah, literally. Like so what happened was when I was a kid, they gave me a shunt. And a shunt is like a thing that opens up your valve to let the blood flow through. And then they were like, well, now your shunt's leaking. And you're too old to get a shunt now. So like, you know? Yeah, right. So they was like, bro, you need to get a valve. And my mom was like, okay, cool. I had the surgery. Thank God, knock on wood. Haven't had a surgery again. You know, I'm pretty healthy. Nice. You know, like on Twitter, I haven't had a sip of alcohol like in over a year. Like, you know, I'm trying to be pretty healthy. But yeah, my everything together, including the rehab, everything was $1 million. And my family's pretty well off. Like my friends know me, like we're doing pretty well. And there's no way that we could have paid $1 million.
Yeah, could you imagine?
0%. But you're the first Democrat. I'm not even gonna cap. I have my friend G-Man. He's Democratic, and my friend Cam Will. They're super Democratic, but they've never convinced me to actually want to vote for.
That's why he's my favorite.
Yo, you might have
to. That's why he's gonna be the president.
You might have to
States.
Like campaign for like a seat or something. Because that was
just wait for it.
Because like the thing that gets me, that makes me not want to vote for the other, like for any side, is when you start bashing the other side.
Yeah. No.
Really don't like that because I'm all about cohesiveness. Yeah. Because there are Black Republicans. Yeah. Like there are a lot of Black Republicans that we don't even realize. And if you alienate those Black people, I don't think you're for Black people.
Oh. I think that's what people don't. Oh, I'm sorry. People don't realize about why Joe Biden campaigned the way that he did. But literally, you were just talking about it. Like he campaigned kind of in a more like moderate stance because of the fact that obviously we've already established that we're a divided country, and he didn't really want to cross that line of bashing nonetheless still American people.
Yeah, I'm gonna go cap. When Trump threw a jab at his dad's son and Joe Biden didn't punch him in the face,
here's my vote.
No, because
because
Joe Biden, that's not just assault no more. That's treason.
No,
the president. But
if you talk thing bad about my grandma, I don't care where we are. It's over. Like I'm a pacifist, and you know I don't wish violence on nobody. But there's just some boundaries that you just don't cross. And absolutely. I was on Twitter.
And that's Joe Biden's boundary that you don't his family.
And I was on Twitter, and I was like, dang, his son. Yeah. I was like, yo, even for Trump, that's low.
I mean, just alienating the other side is not going to get us anywhere. You might be the best Democrat I've ever talked to. You know, I'm glad. I hope I'm going to have your vote in a few years. But no,
I was already saying I was voting blue Senate, but I'm super doing it now.
You got to. I mean, because at the end of the day, you know, a lot of people, you know, we're celebrating, we're happy, but you know, I will be the Debbie Downer and say, I will turn around and look and say, yeah, we won, we did all this. There are 72 million people who voted for him.
Yeah.
And they're pissed and they're silent. You know, they're collecting their thoughts right now, and they're
some
pissed.
of them silent.
And you know, we have so many people who are like,
there's some stupid idiots out there.
Yeah. Right. You know, we have a lot of people, and like I think a lot, because people don't really, you know, follow it too closely, they don't understand that some of his supporters tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it's like they're getting bold. But yeah, no, I mean, like, you know, even, you know, we're talking about the healthcare stuff. It's like, it's easy. It's an easy fix, right? Like, people who are making money right now can still make their money, but people can also be, you know, well off and healthy and happy. There's a reason why, you know, these companies like Google or even Home Depot, you know, they pay a very substantial amount of money, and they give, you know, pay time off. They, you know, give maternity and paternity leave off, because they know it's not because they're, you know, the kindness of their heart. They know, yo, if they're happy, they're going to come work better. And they're going to work with me longer. And they're going to tell their friends. And we're going to, it's like, because they're happy now when they're talking to people on customer service, they're happier. And the people are happier with the service. And now they're shopping more here. And I don't understand. I guess I've never understood why people can't see that, and there's a reason why, some of these people think that the entire country is just Trump supporters. And I said that, 72 million people still voted for him. But, out of that, maybe only about 30 million of that, is actually, the racist, I hate them people, so I'm going to vote for him. But the other ones are just saying, I'm not about to give my money to the Democrats so they can just do stupid stuff with it, which is a fair point.
I think a solid half, maybe a little bit more than half of Trump voters really just didn't know what to do.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Because, there are some Trump voters that I'll talk to anybody. Yeah. Besides vegans. No, I'm kidding. But I'll talk I'll talk to anybody. Yeah. But I'll talk to anybody. And I was, asking, I was like, so why are you voting for Trump? And it was like, honestly, like, I really don't like him as a person, but I don't want Dems to waste my money on stupid stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, that's pretty fair. Like, and then some people are like one issue voters, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, some people, like if you have a company in trade, and like, that's how you make money. I understand. Yeah. I'm not going to vilify. I think it's stupid, but I understand. Yeah. Or if you're, on the south border of Texas and, immigration might be an issue for you, I get it. Yeah. I completely understand. Do I agree with the way you're voting and the logic? I don't. Yeah. Because my immigration stance is pretty liberal. I don't think you should deny anybody.
First of all.
You know what I'm saying? But hey, that could be for a different point. Yeah. Because I'll talk 3 hours about immigration. But yeah, that kind of, like, I do like your stance on bringing people together, because I tweeted this a lot in the years before the election, like coming up. I said it like randomly all the time. I was like, vilifying people will not bring them to your side. Absolutely not. I was like, it's not gonna work. Imagine me and you having a debate, and I was like, man, fuck you ugly mother. Like, you would be like, why would I want to hang out with this guy?
I'm not gonna. Yeah, right.
Like, I would never want to see this. Yeah. No, I'm not doing what he's doing. Yeah. If he's there, I'm not going, because he's a bad person. Right. Now, me and you're debating. It's like, you know what, dude? I understand what you're saying. So what can I do to bring you over to my side? Well, if you do this, I'll bet.
Yeah. At the end of the day, you can sit down. And it isn't. People think it's going to take a long time. I can sit down for 3 minutes with any Republican and hear their side. I can tell them my side, and they're like, "Well, I didn't know that." And I'll be like, "Yeah, no, that's how that goes." And I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and we were talking about Biden's his policy on gun control and everything, and he was trying to take everything offline and stuff. And my friend was like, I'm not trying to stockpile anything, but some parts of my gun I need to order in this size and color, and I can't order it online, so I have to try and see if I can get it from the stores. Right? To me, my brain, I'm like, well, you don't even need that stuff. We need to protect our kids. But I was like, I want to listen, and he started telling me about all this other stuff about how different gun parts, it costs it's taxed, and he's like, I want to do this. Yeah.
They're right. So me personally, I hate guns. Everyone in my family loves guns. All my friends love guns. I'm a pacifist. I maybe if I had get a daughter with a child, I don't know, but I hate guns. But I do understand that some people in certain areas, you need protection. Yeah, I completely get it. Yeah. Someone break into your house, you little woozy, you got that thing on you. You feel me? Right. And stop. And then they are right though. There are certain guns, and I personally agree with you. Yeah. You don't need that part, or you don't need that gun.
It's like you don't need it, but a lot of people are like, I need this, or I collect this. Like I'm gonna break just a few seconds. Away from politics. I love Star Wars. I'm a huge nerd. And I have a whole lightsaber collection at home. I don't need those. They're really expensive, but I like them. They're really cool, and I show them to my friends. And that's the same way they feel about a lot of guns, because a lot of gun owners, they are responsible gun owners. And, they make sure they have a gun safe. They make sure the safety's on. They make sure that, it's not loaded, because that's just, they collect them. And I think, he was talking to me, and I was like, well, why are Republicans and conservatives so against registering their guns if they're responsible? He said, because it costs money. It costs so much money to register every gun I buy, and I have to go through these hoops and everything. And I was like, surely the amount of money we're getting from tax and gun sales can't be that much. It wouldn't be too crazy to say, if you agree to me that you will go get, you know, background checks, health, like a mental evaluation checks, and you will register everything that you buy. If we if we decrease the taxes or stop taxing them altogether, will you promise me that you can do all these checks and you can register it so we know where everyone's guns are? And he was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind that. And like, not to say that I will do that, right? But it's having those conversations of like, what are you willing to give up for the safety of our children and for people in general if you were allowed to continue doing something that you want?
Well, and the crazy part is, which is why I kind of hate the NRA, the majority of gun owners in America want background checks.
Yeah, they support it.
Like even like the basic rules. Like they're like, yeah, like I'm for that. Like I haven't met a gun owner yet, and we live in the South.
Yeah,
and I got white friends, Asian friends, black friends. All they're like, I have not met not one single gun owner who's against that. Like literally not a single one. And so it just kind of drives me crazy when the NRA is like, well, we can't do. I'm like, but the people in your club or your organization oppose what you're saying.
And that's a huge thing. Like people just don't
Jay's
talk.
looking at me like, yeah, that nigga's speaking right now.
No, I mean it's straight facts, because it's like I don't know where it started with the narrative of like, we're gonna take your guns. Now Beto O'Rourke, bless his soul,
he's a little extreme.
That was crazy. I
can't believe he said that.
The minute he said we're taking your guns away, I said your whole career's over. Just go ahead.
I knew he wasn't gonna win Texas when he said that. I was like, no, you've lost. You said in Texas.
In Texas,
the gun state of the world.
Yeah, right. Right. It's crazy, but you know, I'm sitting here and like, there's a whole narrative. You know, they want to take our guns away. You know, and at the end of the day, my quickest answer to that is they can't. We have a whole Second Amendment, like that a constitutional amendment for you is your most important, even though there's a lot of other important ones.
The Second Amendment protects all the other amendments.
Southern Democrats.
Right. Right.
That is the funniest thing when I hear.
I know I have a friend, we're both political, and we look at each other and, you know, we were like, you know, I like guns. You like guns? And I was like, yeah, I like guns. He said, you know why? Because we Southern Democrats. And this is the funniest thing, but I just think that, you know, I was just using, you know, gun control as one thing, but there are several things where both sides literally agree, but they don't know that they agree, because a lot of media and, you know, the NRA, a lot of interest groups will get in and spread misinformation.
Yeah. Which is kind of why I don't watch like biased news anymore. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of stay away from CNN and Fox.
Yeah. I can't, because I like Chris Cuomo.
Yeah, Cuomo be.
Yeah. And Anderson Cooper.
Whose queen is this? Who claims this queen?
Anderson Cooper.
Okay, Anderson Cooper is a good looking dude, though.
No, I mean,
Anderson Cooper is a good looking guy.
Right.
Like I don't know, like the white hair with like the little thing, like little bang thing he's got going on. Like, that's a good looking dude.
It's a confidence.
Yeah. You know. Also, the jawline is pretty nice.
Yeah.
But I just, you know, like,
who claims this queen?
All the Cuomos.
Both Cuomos.
Jay's over there paying.
Right. He's like, man. Because you're right. I mean, there's like both sides. Like, there's so many actual partisan like news coverage, and CNN is not perfect at all. CNN actually reports things, and I will say, okay, that's too far, or I'll be like, that's not true. Because I mean, there are certain things that just aren't true. So I challenge myself to look past it and research on my own. Because I know things because I have, you know, years of education experience in this field, but, you know, there are certain things that I see and I'm like, that is going to trick millions. And I'm like, this is so disheartening. And, you know, every time I try to do stuff, I always try to make the information that I give people a little bit simpler, because, you know, it's very easy. Like, right. Like a lot of people are like, you know, it's so complicated, but it's not. Just, it's the way you're explaining it is complicated. And, I've loved the growth that I've had, you know, since I've been in college, and I've met some really awesome people. Shout
out Dasia Jones. She's gonna cry.
Right. No, she's
a simp. She's a simp.
I keep somebody who knows something about something on my side.
No, but see
you know, I just have opinions. He has information. So
no, but you can use me as a tool anytime you want, because
I do.
You call me your politician friend, but you're my activist friend, because you have driven me to, you know, implement a lot of activist ideals in my policies, because it's important.
I tend to make my friends a little bit more progressive.
I mean, Cap, they was like, and I asked her like 3 times. I was like, I need you behind these protests with me. And she was like, okay, I'll help you promo. But she was like, I don't want to be like, because she wanted the protest to be about the protest and not about her. Yeah. And I was like, if you don't goddamn say a speech.
Right.
But she saw the bigger picture though. But I do admire people, and more specifically women like Dasia Jones, because stop. Yeah, people making me I'm about to tweet like a savage again, bro. People making me soft, man. I swear.
I be saying this all day, all the time, and she'd be like, "You're gonna make me cry." I'm like, "Day, do you not see yourself?" I'm like, I always tell her, like, first of all, black women, just in general, just wow.
Yeah.
I know whenever I run or whenever I get in office, it's my staff.
Don shaking his head like, yeah, damn straight.
Yeah, no, right. It's just. I have yet to see a black woman not achieve something that she wants to achieve.
Facts.
And that's just powerful. I just, at the end of the day, that gives me a lot of motivation. And I think a large thing that motivates me, honestly, is my mom. She sees an obstacle and she overcomes it because she has to.
Dope.
And I think that resilience and endurance of black women is just so strong. I mean, and black men too, of course, but it's like I look at Day and I'm like, God dang, man, like. The things that she does, I don't know if you saw the post. I keep telling people about this all the time. I told myself that I was going to start using Twitter. And
you need to.
Yeah.
He did. He made his page 5 days ago.
Right. I made my page like 5 days ago, and then I made up my one of my first posts. I think it was maybe my third post. I posted the analytics about the black youth vote here in Georgia, and I had about 15 followers, and she reposted it, and Jay reposted it, and man, that post has been seen by 5.8 million people now.
It's literally viral. It has
because of her
113 likes.
100, yeah, like
or 13,000. I'm sorry.
Right, 113. Yeah, right. He's like, what? It's at 120,000 now, but no, yeah, it's literally all because of her. And I sit there and I look at her and I say, Day, like I like to put things in perspective for people too. I think I went to her and I said, Day, like. This is cool and all, but do you know that this has reached more people than people who voted in this election in Georgia, right? Like, it's reached 5.8 million people across the country. I had people from other states, texting me being like, oh, wow, like, what is this? This is crazy. And my job was like, Daniel, you're going viral. And that's because of Dasia Jones.
And then the thing is, like, Day is part of the reason why I was going to vote Democratic in January. Which I'm gonna get you to talk on in just 1 second, but I want to say this little piece right here, mainly because I saw her go so hard for it, whereas my Republican friends were kind of lazy. Mm-hmm. And anyone who knows me, I hate lazy people. Yeah. Like, it's just not for me.
Yeah. Lazy people and liars.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And guns.
Bro, I don't know what it is.
So, Republicans
and vegan. Okay, everyone knows vegans, but I just don't like guns. I don't know what it is. And you would think that me being a Southern black man with my family and my friends, like, I would love. I just don't know what it is. But yeah, Day is one of the reasons why she's a little part of the reason why I'm voting Democratic come January. The main reason is because I want to see what they do for black people. And I'm very transparent. Like I told Day earlier, I'm going to see what they do. They're going to have 2 years, what I'm saying, of all branches being, you feel me? And then we're going to have Biden. So let's see what they can do.
Which is valid.
And, and of course, I'm being very reasonable here. I'm not saying cure every single black issue there, but, a law here, a little representation there, what I'm saying?
Step in the right direction.
Will definitely get me voting, more towards your way. But if I don't see the realistic expectations that I think should happen, I might vote Republican again. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying Republicans are the way to go, nor will I tell anyone to vote Republican. Yeah. But I'm just doing what I think is best for my people.
Absolutely, which I think that a lot of people should. I think, when I do a lot of stuff like with nonpartisan work, I always say, vote what is best for you. Because when everyone...
It's not even me. I'm voting for my people.
Yeah.
Because I know that me specifically, regardless of who wins, I'm going to be straight.
Yeah.
I got photography. I'm an account manager for ADP. I'm straight. I have a house. I got a car. I promise you.
Yeah.
Whoever I vote for, I could never vote and I'll be straight.
Yeah. And but when you say, vote for you, people are like, okay, well, what's important to me and what's important to you is your family. It's about making sure that, it's about making sure everything that about you is it's good, right? And it's seriously going to be leaders like Day, using social media because that's the platform that we have, and it's people are going to listen because she's passionate. And we love to see it.
Yeah, and I think that's like one of the biggest things for me has always been making sure, especially with this runoff election coming up, is making sure that everything that I say is simple enough that, and not to just say people who are simple-minded, but to like, we make politics really complex, like you were just saying, and really complicated. You don't understand a lot of things from the surface level. So to be like really simple and to talk about it how I would talk about anything else, but let it be known like this is extremely important. And I know that people, you know, look at me for
facts. Say
whatever else I'm talking about.
Be confident.
Be it, you know, but people will look at, you know, my Twitter to see me talking about sexual assault issues. People see me talk. What else do I talk about? I don't know.
I mean, your Twitter is mainly, to me personally, 4 things: politics.
Come on.
Stop. See, I don't want to say that. Politics. How much you love your mans.
Good
Sexual. Sexual assault, which I'm a very big proponent of. You know, I like, you know, making people uncomfortable with it, and then also like just random like, should I go out tonight? I don't know. I'm gonna stay in the house.
Yeah.
What y'all doing?
One more food.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she like
Yeah.
good food.
But people usually tap into it for whatever reason. So that's why I'm like, it's so important for me to use this platform, because I have noticed that since I have, you know, gone so hard for it, and I decided to go hard for it on election night.
Yeah.
Because like we needed the momentum then. For whatever reason, people were tapped into election night. On Twitter, people was talking about it like we were watching the
Super Bowl.
BET
Super Bowl,
Awards
yeah.
back in the
Super
day.
Bowl,
Yeah, so people were talking about it. I'm like, okay, well, let me go ahead and start mobilizing people now. And since then, people have gotten registered to vote that didn't vote for, you know, for the general election and that, or the primaries, and now they're voting for the runoff.
So I want you to actually, you know, before we wrap up, I want you to give your dissertation or like whatever, like on the Senate runoff, what's going to happen, like what you think is going to happen, how to get people out to vote, like what they need to do, when they need to register, like everything. Just break it down. 10 minutes a day, go.
Let me get my dates.
Oh,
Okay,
Lord.
so
She said, let me get my research.
yes, so the Senate runoff coming up, John Ossoff versus David Perdue, Reverend Raphael Warnock, the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, the church of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., versus Kelly Loeffler. Super important runoff election. Like we've said earlier, will decide the majority of the Senate. Well, actually, it'll be 50-50, and the tiebreaker will be Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
So we decide the Senate.
Yeah.
Like, I just want people,
Yes.
even though it's 50, we decide
Like,
the Senate.
That's
Georgia decides the fate of millions of American people. Like, very literally. That's what it is. So much is on the line. So much of what Georgia does will dictate what a Biden presidency looks like. So when we talk about, you know, President Barack Obama didn't do this, there will be a very good chance that we'll have those same conversations
With
about a Biden presidency if we don't show up for this runoff. It does give us a chance to have a little bit more hope in a presidency again. If Georgia can flip both of these seats blue, we can finally get 2 corrupt politicians out of office. Like I said, let me pull up these dates because I forgot. You can request your absentee ballot today. Do it. Actually, I don't know when this podcast is going up, but request your absentee ballot. The deadline to do so is December 7th, I believe.
Or
Okay.
the registration?
Yeah.
Yeah, registration.
Voter registration, December 4th.
So you have up until, to give context, today is November 15th. So you have just about 3 weeks-ish to register for the Senate runoff. And you can vote in any county, right?
Yeah, for
Early. Wait. Go
Is
ahead.
early voting for it, correct? Is there early
Early
I'm
voting-
not really sure about
Early
runoff.
voting starts December 14th.
Okay, so December 4th, and then you can vote in any county for early voting, correct?
you have to vote in the county that
Yeah.
you're registered in.
Okay, you have to vote for the county that you're registered
You can vote
Yeah.
for at any precinct in your county.
Okay,
early
okay,
voting.
okay.
Voting.
Okay, I don't really know much about runoffs. I'm kind of ignorant.
Georgia's actually, we don't really have a lot of runoffs, and when we do, the Republicans always win. But it's gonna be a really big learning curve for us.
Yeah, because literally this was my first presidential election that I ever voted in. So this will be my first runoff election to vote in as well. Early voting, like I said, starts December 14th. You can vote at any precinct in your county for early voting, but if you vote on election day, which is January 5th, or the runoff election, which is January 5th, you have to vote at your precincts.
Okay. So early voting would be probably better because you can go anywhere. That's probably a bit more convenient.
Yep.
Okay. So
Definitely. And you can find where your precinct is on mvp.sos.ga.gov. Period.
Okay. So for everyone that's listening, we have the Senate runoff for the 2 senators, and we're going to be hopefully flipping Georgia completely blue, just for you guys to understand what that means. Because even though Georgia did vote blue for the presidency, our Senate is technically still Republican, but let's see if we can make the state completely blue, okay? And then also, like Dave was saying, you have until the 4th to register to vote for the runoff. And then election day, not early voting, but election day is January 5th. Early voting starts December 14th.
Yeah.
All right. So everyone, go out and vote. We need to flip the state blue. Let's see what happens. Let's hope they do some good thing for black people, and then black people can help other people in the future. This has been a great podcast. There's anything that you guys want to say, ending it off?
I'm just gonna use this time to be dramatic, but not dramatic at all. If you listen to this podcast and you're asking yourself, if I should vote or if I shouldn't vote, or if your vote matters, this is going to be one of the most consequential elections, runoff elections in history thus far. For a runoff election, but the Democrats gaining control of the Senate will literally mean millions of people will be able to, have health insurance. People will be able to have help out of this pandemic. It will even mean that we're getting more stimulus checks if that's what you need to, go out and vote. But we have to.
No, I'm kidding.
Right. No, right. If you want money, but no, it's you come out and vote for this Senate so that, President-elect Biden can then show us for the next 2 years, what he's about, because we don't want him hiding behind, I didn't have control over the Senate. Let's give him all the necessary resources that he needs to be able to govern effectively. Just get out and vote. Also, I think the registration deadline is the 7th. I was just thinking in my head about the 4th so it's the 7th. Election on the 5th. So make sure you get your brother, your mama, your sister, your cousin.
Everybody. Mama them.
Right. Mama and them. Yes. To out and vote.
Especially, just to throw this in, especially people who were not 18 to vote in the primary election, but will be 18 by January 5th. If you know those people, get them registered to vote.
So, hey, Capricorns.
Yeah.
No,
we
really.
Coming up.
Really.
Coming up.
Really.
Yeah, let's go, Jay. Yeah. Capricorns, we up now. Georgia depends on Capricorns. Just if it flips blue, you guys might gotta give Capricorn $5. I don't know.
I forgot you were a Capricorn.
January 1st. All right. This has been Man Versus with Daniel and Day, and we're out.